America has given us an unprecedented and powerful mandate.
For Ukraine, the election of Donald Trump means uncertain times. Will he pull the plug on US military aid? Will he try and force Kyiv to cede territory to Russia? And what will his attitude be to Vladimir Putin?
The feeling in Kyiv will be pretty heavily impacted, I think, by President Trump's victory. There is certainly a feeling there that this was going to be a bad outcome for Ukraine, that his pledge to end the war with one meeting effectively was going to be something that was bad for Ukraine. And of course, historically, he's had antipathy for Ukraine because of links to Biden and historical things that he's often talked about. So I think there is obviously a pessimistic mood. They know where they stand with Biden. This is change, and they don't know what this will bring. But I think there are fears that it could result in Ukraine losing some of that US support it's had, or at least being coerced to accept an outcome that Ukraine wouldn't necessarily itself want.
The Republican Party is hawkish on Ukraine. Many in the party favour stopping aid to Kyiv completely. Earlier this year, they blocked President Biden's supplemental spending bill, freezing $60 billion in military aid. It had an immediate effect, with Ukrainian forces left short of ammunition and weapons. So can Ukraine really go it alone if Donald Trump ends US assistance?
The reality for Ukraine is it's heavily dependent on the supply of support from the US. It makes up at least 50% of what it receives. So Ukraine will continue to receive support without the US, but in a war where every shell matters, where every vehicle counts, where every bullet counts, that's something that's very significant for Ukraine. It's going to be very hard for them to carry on fighting at the same tempo without that support. And this is a very finely balanced conflict. Russia's able to keep the pressure up. Any staggering of support for Ukraine we've seen have consequences in the past when bills were delayed and aid was delayed from the US. And so unless something steps up to fill that gap, which is a huge ask for European nations, although potentially within their power to supply, then I think Ukraine is left looking a bit more vulnerable, without doubt.
President Zelensky was quick to congratulate Donald Trump, but the incoming president has been less than flattering about the Ukrainian leader, branding him the greatest salesman in history. So how is that relationship going to pan out?
He's a sort of 100% business owner person, where he's not serving a business on behalf of the shareholders, he serves it on behalf of himself. And I think that approaches everything he approaches with that in mind. And relationships as well, very personal for him. And if you transmute all of this to the world of real estate business in New York or Florida, it starts to make more sense as to how he acts. Now, of course, he's up against people who don't necessarily act that way, who understand it less, not least leaders of Western democracies. But there's more in common with the autocratic leaders, because he is an autocrat in his own organization, of course, leading the most powerful democracy on earth. But when he talks to these other leaders who are autocratic, there's a common language there. And that can result in sudden breakthroughs in relations and friendships. And we see that perhaps more acceptably with the Saudis, the Abraham Accords and things like that he worked on.
Zelensky's team hope that Donald Trump's unpredictability may be their biggest hope. The soon-to-be 47th President of the United States said the war wouldn't have happened if he'd been in charge. But he's not put forward any detailed plan to end the conflict. As Ukraine braces for another winter at war, they wait to see whether America will help them win or force them towards an unpalatable peace. Simon Newton, BFBS Forces News.
Thanks for watching. For more from BFBS Forces News, like and subscribe to our channel.